Hello everyone, let's study about the optical instruments. Optical instruments are used primarily to assist the eye in viewing the objects. Now, basically, these optical instruments would help us to get a better view of the object. These instruments are categorized into three categories. The first type is called as visual instruments like microscope, telescope. The second category is called as photographing and projecting instruments like cameras, and third type is called as analyzing and measuring instruments like a spectrometer. Just keep in mind that optical instruments would help us to resolve or magnify the images so that we get a better view of the image. Of all the optical instruments, the most important and the natural one is called as the human eye. Now, as shown here, this is a diagrammatic representation of the human eye. Now here we will study only from physics point of view as to how the eye works and what the eye consists of. Now the first part of the eye is called as cornea, or the outer part is called as cornea, which is the front surface. Now this cornea would help to converge the light ray, and light refracts here because outside the eye it is mostly air. So when light falls from some object, light falls on this cornea, light would refract because light is going from a rarer to denser medium, because of which light would be refracted, and this light falls on the iris. Now iris is the visible part of the eye which is opaque. After falling to iris, light would fall on this dark part called as pupil. This is basically a central hole in the eye. As seen here, this iris is like a central hole in the eye. Its size could be changed. After light entering through the pupil falls on this lens, and this lens acts like a convex lens. We have learned that a convex lens would converge light ray, so these light rays are further converged to a point on the retina, and finally the image is formed on the retina of the eye. So the distance between the lens and retina, which you call as V, remains a constant. Now this retina contains some specialized cells called as rods and then cones. Rods help in identifying light intensity, and cones helps in differentiating the colors. Now these cells would convert the light into some signals, and these signals are carried by the optic nerves. Now from here the information goes to the brain, and brain decodes the information and sends it back to the optic nerves, and finally what we get would be a image on the retina. Keep in mind that a convex lens forms an inverted image. So whatever image we see of the object should be inverted. That's what happens on the retina. But we know by experience that whatever we see around us is erect. So to understand this, what is happening here is the brain itself inverts the image by experience. That is, for a newborn baby, everything would be inverted around itself. So the newborn baby would see the world as inverted. But as time goes on, the experience, brain itself starts to invert the images by experience. So the brain itself inverts the image form. So finally what we get on the retina would be an erect image only. So whatever we see around us erect because of the inversion done by the brain. So this is about the human eye, its structure. As seen here, this is nothing but a schematic diagram, which is a diagram just showing the important points. Learn this diagram from exam point of view. There's no need to understand as to what are these things like virtuous humor. Such things not required. Just remember what is most important from exam point of view. Next topic is called as power of accommodation of the eye. It basically means that it is the ability of the lens to adjust its focal length so that the image is always formed on the retina. The object is anywhere between 25 centimeter and infinity in the case of normal human eye. Now what it means is that just imagine that this is the human eye for a minute, and we'll draw its a convex lens also here. Now think of an object somewhere here. It's an object AB and something far away like a tree. Let the distance between this to this be some 5 meter, and from here to here it will be some 30 meters. Now we know that for a lens, the lens equation is given by 1 by f is equal to 1 by v minus 1 by u. This is called as lens equation. Now for a given lens, take an actual lens. For a given lens, for one position of u, f is fixed here. For a given convex lens or concave lens also, f is fixed. So if f is fixed, suppose here if we have an object at this point, it is called as u. Somewhere here an image is formed on this screen, we call it as v. So in this case, for a given u, we'll have a given v. Since f is fixed here, if u changes, v also would change. Now this is for normal lens, but recall that for human eye, the distance between this lens to retina was called as v. So for a human eye, v remains fixed. Whether it is the object A, B or this tree, v remains fixed. But still, we can see both this object and the tree. I'm saying for normal human eye, both of this can be seen very clearly. It means that in this equation 1 by f is equal to 1 by v minus 1 by u, since v is fixed and since we see both the objects which are very far away clearly, it means that f should change. Because even if f is to remain constant, then we can have only one value of u. But here we have two values of u, or we can look at many other objects also. Look at something far away here, like a house. Now all of these can be seen very clearly by the human eye. That means that by keeping v fixed, the only way that all of these can be seen is to make f2 vary. Which means for a normal human eye, for human eye itself, the focal length would vary. This property of eye is called as power of accommodation of eye. It's basically the ability of the eye lens to adjust its focal length so that the images at different points are seen clearly by the eye. Next is near point and far point. Now, near point basically means the nearest point at which the object is seen clearly by the eye. That is, think of a case where we have a eye like this. This is, for example, say human eye. If an object is kept at a certain distance, this object can be seen clearly. Imagine that this object is brought closer and closer. Think of bringing a pen close to your eye. When the pen is brought closer and closer beyond a certain point, example, if you look at this point as a point where it is seen clearly, if the pen is brought still closer, then the pen cannot be seen distinctly. That is, the human eye can see something is present there but not see distinctly. So this distance from the eye, from beyond which the object can be seen clearly, is called as near point. So it is the nearest point at the eye at which this object is seen clearly, and this distance, this is a point. So the point here is called as near point. We'll put n here. The distance between the eye to this point is a distance, and that is called as least distance of distinct vision. Distinct means we can see everything clearly in the object, not blurred. Keep in mind that when the object is brought closer, you could see something out of it, but that can't be seen clearly. So only from this point we can see clearly. So that point from which the objects can be seen clearly is called as normal point, and the distance from the eye to that object is called as least distance of distinct vision, which is given as capital D. For normal human eye, this distance is 25 centimeter. Now, to think of far away objects, there can be cases where objects can be seen far away also. Now, theoretically, how far can a human being seen? Theoretically, a normal human eye can see up to infinity. We cannot experience this on the Earth's surface because of the Earth's curvature. That is, if somebody is to stand on a, say, open seashore and look at any direction, then what would one see is, you would see that because of the Earth's curvature, you would see that the Earth and sky would merge. So from here we cannot see up to infinity, but theoretically a person, a normal human eye, can see up to infinity. That is called as far point. So for a normal human eye, a normal human eye can see anywhere between near point till infinity. So this would be the range of vision for a normal human eye.